Is there data available somewhere that compares the past projections to the actuals so we can know how good those predictions were?
There's not a report per se that does that. You can certainly do it fairly easily because all of our, on our website, nrb.state.nrb.us, has all of the forecasts. So you can sort of see each one of them. We do look, you know, as we do forecasts.
You as a budget person, aren't you interested in knowing the projection of what actually happened?
Yeah, completely. The couple of things that make it a little trickier is the legislature intervenes. So each time you lay out a forecast, then everything changes. So,
like a lightning stadium, right?
Precisely. So we don't take responsibility for all changes in the forecast.
That's an excellent point. And so when we get the forecast as the legislature, all of those finance committees are going to get an understanding of what the piece of the pie that they have actually looks like. And that's when the real hard budget work is going to be taking place. So these conversations that we're having early on, we're going to be able to know how to go back to the legislature and say, this is what's important to Eagan, and this is what folks in Eagan want to see in the budget, and this is where the concerns are on the revenue side, and how do we build something around that. And we'll be doing that at the committee level, and then we'll be doing that as an entire legislature as well. So the process is long and arduous, but our job is to get a better result for you all.
A lot of our questions have been answered as people have chimed in. So this is kind of the last one that I didn't hear an answer to. And it might be specific, and I'm going to try to do my best to read the writing, but how much did expanding the credit for increasing research activities, including the refundable aspect and expansion to partnerships and S-corps?
That wasn't my question.
I was trying to decipher kind of what that meant, but it was
That wasn't my question. I have a question up there, but you didn't read it.
Yeah, I did. Actually, that was expanding the sales tax on the wealthy. We
No.
talked about that.
No, you didn't.
Sure did.
Yeah, I did.
Bill, could you maybe read it again?
Which one?
The one that you just read.
How much did expanding the credit for increasing research activities, including the refundable aspect and expansion to partnership and S-corps? I'm trying to.
I'm not familiar with the question, and I can't give you the answer, I know.
Commissioner, I'm not going to get as techie as
Scott's got it, let's go for it.
But Scott Kiefer with Blue Cross, and we're lucky to have Representative Halverson, and as the second largest employer at Eagan, I want to thank you for coming out and engaging in difficult issues. One piece that I should have sent a question on that didn't come up is the proposed increase in the tobacco tax. And we raised the issue of cancer survivors, and the most important way to cut the cancer rate clinically in the short term is to prevent kids, especially, from ever becoming smokers. You know, on behalf of Blue Cross that has a long record against tobacco and driving down the tobacco rate, I'd like to say thank you. We've got issues on the exchange that we're talking through and working through, and as you know, we want to make sure that the exchange is a marketplace and not a regulator. But we'll set that aside for the conversation that's occurring up at the Capitol and say the tobacco tax increase is the right thing. It may not be popular with everybody, but thank you again for engaging in the conversation.
Thank you.
And don't shout him down.
Don't be shouted in. There's more people that haven't been working yet. Let's take the
Rather than reading the entire statement, I'm just going to talk about the minimum wage being lower than the federal rate, and maybe talk about how it hasn't kept up with inflation, and just talk about the minimum wage in general.
I noticed you didn't object to your question.
No, that's another issue that we're going to see legislation around. Is the minimum wage in Minnesota, and it's been several years since we've seen the minimum wage raised. And actually, when we saw it raised the last time, I was a manager at a department store, and so I remember it distinctly because we did a lot of math about it. But what ended up happening is it ended up being something that worked in Minnesota and brought some folks who were pretty low wage up to a higher wage. I'm kind of shocked actually because I've been the minimum wage worker. I was a nursing assistant, and what I was making 25 years ago as a nursing assistant hasn't changed a whole heck of a lot. which is pretty surprising to me. And so it's a conversation that I think is really important because it has a big impact on our economy overall. And we are definitely seeing the growing disparity with the largest wage earners in an organization and the lowest wage earners in an organization. And I'm somebody, I respect people's hard work, and I want to be sure that we're able to, and the other thing is when I was working in retail management, I was always fighting for higher wages for folks who worked for me because I got better return on the investment. People stayed longer. The effort that I spent training, the investment I made training, paid off better because people were willing to stay around a little bit longer, and we saw that investment pay off better. So
And that was a conscious decision by you.
that was a conscious decision by me, but
No,
it was I will say it was helped by the minimum wage law because it helped us bring everybody up to a better starting wage.
How's that going with healthcare?
Do you plan to support the bill?
I haven't seen the bill, so I have to look at it. But
Very simple.
yeah, well, and I understand that there's a little bit of a discrepancy about what the totals are going to be. There's a few different proposals that are coming out. I was just asking somebody about that today. I've heard everything from $9 to $12, so I'm not sure.
Laurie, I just had a quick question. You say you're on Health and Human Services, correct?
I am.
And Scott just raised a good question about these healthcare exchanges. Because from what I understand,
Can we finish with this last person and then
Okay.
we'll go into the exchanges?
Sure,
All right,
that's
because I
fine.
want to be sure that
Yeah,
they're
a couple more questions that just got brought. Apparently, Wells Fargo paid no federal taxes and put money in overseas tax havens. Did they pay any state taxes?
Again, single taxpayer information isn't public data. I have no idea. We commented on it in the bank.
Okay. How can the state use renewable energy to reduce costs and create jobs?
That's an interesting question. Well, one project comes to mind. There's a proposal at the legislature to provide bonding dollars for schools around the state. It's not really something that's going to impact Eagan because our schools are pretty new, but some of those really old schools that have aging, outdated HVAC systems that need to be replaced. There's a proposal at the legislature to provide really low interest opportunities for folks to replace with much more energy efficient, in some cases renewable solar projects. And so it's a way that we can kind of start building our schools for the future and start getting better return for our dollars. We've seen it here, I think, and Councilmember Tilley is here, she might want to comment on this, but when I was sitting on the Parks Commission in Eagan, our civic arena went geothermal. I don't know how many people knew that, but that has saved the city hundreds of thousands of dollars in electrical costs. Those sheets of ice over there are cooled by geothermal energy. And that was a federal grant that we got to take advantage of as a city that's saving our city a ton of money. And so the payoff exists and it's out there. We just need to make sure that we're not, that we're investing properly. And if we were going to exchange an aging HVAC system with another inefficient system that we're going to have to replace sooner rather than later, is that the best use of our dollars? And so that's what that particular proposal is taking a look at. So that's just one example. Does it create jobs? Yeah, it does. In fact, we've got a solar producer that lives in our community that is, great boots on the roof small business and is seeing growth and is able to hire workers to install solar. So that's one example of a business in our community that's benefiting.
Hey, Laurie, I was going to mention too, our new fire station has 26 geothermal wells. I think it was the first, it's green certified, the first one in the state, green certified. So as we make decisions as council members, part of the government, we make conscious decisions to save money. And you're very fortunate to live here in Eagan because you got the AAA rating. We are the best. I'm sorry, we are.
and that's